King Robert. King Robert's absurdity began long before his reign. It was nurtured in his bizarre and dysfunctional childhood. Born to Queen Edwina the absent-minded and King Barnaby the bold, Robert was the unfortunate product of a marriage that was held together by little more than a shared obsession with hats. Queen Edwina, his mother, was infamous for her unpredictable cruelty and nonsensical reasoning. She had a habit of executing people for absurdly petty offenses, claiming it was her duty to keep order. For example, a baker once lost his head because his bread rolls were too symmetrical, which she declared an affront to natural beauty. Another poor soul was imprisoned for owning a particularly vibrant scarf that she declared witchcraft. Her passion for hats was unmatched. She changed hats no fewer than 20 times a day and referred to each of her extravagant headpieces as her crowning jewels. She once ordered an entire village burned because she heard a rumor that someone there had a hat with a feather bigger than hers. Her jealousy knew no bounds. King Barnaby, on the other hand, was a man who took hoarding to apocalyptic levels. His catchphrase, "A day is coming that we will need this," became a running joke in the palace as no such day ever arrived. He hoarded not just gold and treasures, but absurd items like barrels of spoiled fish, wagon wheels without wagons, and even a collection of wooden spoons carved to resemble angry faces. His reasoning: we might need these for morale. His subjects joked that if war ever broke out, the army would have to defend the kingdom armed with nothing but hats and spoons. Robert, the unfortunate heir to this madness, spent most of his childhood under the influence of his mother. They would parade through the streets not to help their people, but to find new ways to ridicule them. Edwina would wrinkle her nose in disgust, leaning down to Robert and saying, "Look at that beggar smiling. Oh, they're definitely hiding something. No one should smile without permission." She instilled in him a deep-seated suspicion of happiness, which would later manifest in the infamous smiling tax under his rule. Her disdain for the poor extended to her warped sense of justice. When a cobbler dared to wear a hat she hadn't seen before, she ordered him hanged, declaring, "Innovation is treason. How dare he create something I don't own?" Robert watched with wide-eyed fascination, convinced this was simply how rulers maintained order. Despite her impulsive nature, Edwina had a soft spot for her son, though her idea of bonding was equally peculiar. She taught Robert to critique people's outfits with a sharp tongue, once spending an entire afternoon mocking a farmer's boots from the palace balcony. "He calls those boots? More like clogs for a cow," she cackled while Robert clapped his tiny hands in delight. Meanwhile, King Barnaby barely noticed his son's existence. When he wasn't hoarding nonsensical items, he was busy drafting policies to justify his obsession. One of his proudest achievements was the royal hoarding tax, which allowed him to seize any object he deemed essential for the future. Barnaby often muttered to himself about the looming day of great need, but no one, not even Edwina, knew what this day entailed. One particularly telling incident from Robert's childhood occurred during a family dinner. While Edwina berated a servant for serving soup that lacked drama, Barnaby triumphantly unveiled his latest acquisition, a giant wheel of cheese so old it had developed its own ecosystem. Edwina, unimpressed, snapped, "What use is a cheese that fights back?" Barnaby, offended, stormed off with the cheese, muttering about ungrateful wives. Robert, however, found the whole scene hilarious and declared, "When I'm king, I'll have a throne made of cheese." Edwina patted his head and said, "Dream big, my boy." In this strange and twisted environment, Robert grew into the man who would one day rule Treasure Island. His mother's capricious cruelty and his father's nonsensical hoarding shaped him into a ruler who combined the worst traits of both. A tyrant with an eye for absurdity, a penchant for pointless rules, and an unwavering belief in the importance of hats. In Robert's case, his idea of a hat was a parrot,